Welcome to chapter 6 of computer hardware. This chapter will talk about the applied use of networking devices to create network, the addressing modes of network, and how to troubleshoot if something goes wrong in a network. Now, there are two types of addresses which are mainly used in a network. In the last chapter, we talked about different devices which are used in a network, and different commonly used devices in a network are switch, router, NIC cards, end devices, and cables. Now, the major address which is used in any computer is known as MAC address. The MAC address is an address assigned by the manufacturer to each networking device uniquely. When I say uniquely, the MAC address will be unique for a device in the whole world. It is a hexadecimal number which is represented in 0 to 9 and 8 to F format. So a hexadecimal number consists of numbers from 0 to 9 and characters from A to F. It can be written in three different ways. The first one is using hyphen, the second one is using colon, and the third one is using dot. And these are called physical address of a computer. Now, the networking device also got a logical address. There are two types of logical address in a computer. The first one is known as IPv4. The second one is known as IPv6. These are the two different versions of Internet Protocol. These are called logical addressing. So IPv4 is called Internet Protocol version 4 and IPv6 is known as Internet Protocol version 6. So now we talked about two address. One is called MAC address or physical address. The other one is known as logical address or IP address. Now when you move a computer from one network to another, or in other sense, when you move your computer from your home network to your college network, the one thing which won't change is your MAC address. The MAC address will be same for your computer when you connect your computer to your home Wi-Fi and to your college Wi-Fi. But the logical address, which can be IPv4 or v6, will change when you move from one network to another or from home Wi-Fi to college Wi-Fi. Okay, so to see the computer's IP address, there is a command in Windows operating system. In command prompt, please type the command ipconfig/all. You can use ipconfig or ipconfig/all. It will display all the IP addresses, physical addresses, IPv6 address, etc., along with subnet mask and gateway address about your computer. Your IPv4 address is a dotted decimal format address, meaning your IPv4 consists of 4 decimal numbers, which varies from 0 to 255. So take this example. You got an IP address 192.168.200.8. 192 is a number which is greater than 0 and less than 255. 168 is a number greater than 0 and less than 255. 208, all these are between 0 and 255. And all these numbers are separated using a dot. So that's why IPv4 address is known as dotted decimal format. It consists of 4 decimal numbers, each separated with dot. Now, the computer won't understand the language known as decimal number or hexadecimal number. The only language which is understood by the computer is known as binary language, meaning binary meaning 2. So, in simple terms, a computer can understand only two numbers which are 0 and 1. So, any IP address in decimal format need to be converted to binary format, which consists of only 0 and 1. So, this is an example of a binary number which consists of only 0 and 1. Now, every IP address is divided into two parts, mainly network part and host part. The network part will be common for all the computers in the same network, but host part will change from computer to computer to create unique IP address. So to find a computer in the same network, check for the network part, and if network part is same, then multiple computers belong to same network. Okay. Now, in the same way, IPv6 address is a hexadecimal number. The size of IPv4 address is 32-bit. The size of IPv6 address is 128-bit. Okay. Now, IPv6 address is a combination of 4 hexadecimal number each separated with a colon, and it is a combination of 8 4-digit hexadecimal number. So this is the first 4-digit hexadecimal number, second 4-digit hexadecimal number, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. 8 4-digit hexadecimal number separated with colon constitutes an IPv6 address. IPv6 meaning Internet Protocol version 6. Now, this IP address is very big. So we got some mechanisms by which we can reduce the size of IPv6 address when you write in some cases. Now, take this example. A fully expanded IPv6 address looks like 2001 colon 0db8 colon 0000 colon 1111 colon 0000 colon 0000 colon 0000 and 0200. Now, the first rule is all the leading zeros can be omitted and can be written in a short form like this. So after reducing the leading zeros meaning after the colon, the first zeros. Okay, the first zeros. These can be omitted. So after omitting, it can be written as 2001 colon db8 colon 0 colon 1111 colon 200. The meaning of colon meaning it is a group of zeros, meaning just check the count 1 2 3 4 and 5. There are 4 hexadecimal number combination and one double colon. The meaning of one double colon is like it represents the remaining zeros. So in total how many? 8. How many is there? 5. So when we subtract 8 minus 5, the remaining will be 3. So there will be 3 zeros in between. So please check, there are 3 zeros that's combined together to one double colon. Okay. Now the second example is also similar to the first one. The third one is very simple. If it is all zeros, then it's very simple. We just need to say f of 02 colon 1. Okay. So how many 4-digit hexadecimal numbers are here? Only 2. What is the total number of hexadecimal numbers in IPv6? It's 8. Now, how many are there? 2. So if you subtract 2 from 8, you will get 6. So the simplest meaning is in between there are 6 zeros or 6 combination of zeros. So let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So there are 6 combination of zeros that's combined to one single double colon. Okay, now when we assign IP address to a computer, there are two ways by which you can assign an IP address to a computer. The first mechanism is known as static addressing or manual addressing. So when you assign an IP address, by default you need to enter three values. First is known as the IP address, second is known as the subnet mask, and the third one is known as the default gateway. Okay, and if the server is not configured, then we also need to include DNS address. Now, what is meant by this DNS address? Domain name service address, or in simple terms, when we type google.com, the system or the computer can't understand google.com, so that google.com address need to be converted to an IP address. Since we humans finds difficult to remember numbers, we come up with names, but computer will understand only numbers. So a server which converts the google.com into corresponding IP address, and from IP address back to Google address or google.com address, or in name to IP address or IP address back to name. These type of conversion is done using a server which is known as DNS server. Okay, the expansion of DNS is domain name server. Okay, now when we assign an IP address, I told you need three things. One is IP address, subnet mask, and the third one is known as default gateway. So IP address we talked, it's a dotted decimal format. It got 4 decimal numbers, each separated with a dot. Now, second one is known as subnet mask. The subnet mask helps you to identify the network part and the host part. Okay, network part and host part. And the default gateway is an IP address of the gateway router or the last router of your organization by which your data will travel from your computer to internet, and the data will travel back from internet to your computer through a gate. Gate is known as a router, a gateway router. That gateway router's IP address is known as default gateway. Okay, so when you assign IP address to a computer, it can be assigned in two ways. One is known as manual, the other one is known as dynamic. The manual mechanism is known as static addressing. Okay, the static address, we need to enter three things mainly: IP address, subnet mask, and gateway. Okay, and the fourth one, which is known as DNS address, which is known as domain name address, which is used for converting names to IP address or IP address back to name. Now, the second type of addressing is known as dynamic addressing. Okay, dynamic addressing meaning, or as a user, we won't be assigning any IP address to our computer. When we connect or when we try to connect our computer to the internet, the computer will talk to a server known as DHCP server and automatically gets the IP address from the DHCP server. Okay, so what is meant by dynamic addressing? Dynamic addressing is a mechanism by which you get the IP address, you meaning your computer gets the IP address from a server known as DHCP server. Okay, so the IP address, the subnet mask, the default gateway, the DNS server, everything will be assigned to your computer automatically. The user need not enter anything, and that type of addressing is known as dynamic addressing. Okay, now to simulate a network, we use a common tool known as packet tracer. Okay, in the last chapter I gave a demo on packet tracer, which helps you to add any number of computers, any number of switches, any number of routers, configuring an NIC. What is meant by NIC? It's known as Network Interface Card. Network Interface Card is a card which is helping your computer to connect to a network. Okay, Network Interface Card is a card which helps your computer to connect to a network. There are two types of NIC cards. One is called wired, where you use the Ethernet cable to connect, and the other one is known as wireless, which helps you to connect the Wi-Fi network or wireless communication to your laptop. So NICs are mainly of two types. One is wired, the other one is known as wireless. Now, a typical home network will be having a wireless router, a broadband, which is connected to an ISP. ISP is known as Internet Service Provider. Examples of ISP is Omantel, Ooredoo, all these are known as ISP, the company which provides you with internet facility. Okay, and then you will be having a end user which uses the network connectivity from ISP. Okay, now as I told earlier, NIC is of two types, mainly wired and wireless. Now, when you connect multiple computers in a network, we need to check whether they are communicating properly or not. Okay, it can be between one system to another system in your home network, or from your home network to an internet computer. Okay, so the command which helps you check the connectivity between two computers is known as ping, P-I-N-G. The ping command is the command which you type in command prompt. Normally, the command is ping and the destination computer's IP address. This is the format. So what's the format? The keyword ping and the destination computer's IP address. Okay. Now, if you don't know the IP address, you got one more facility. You just need to type the name. Okay, so in this example, when I say ping cisco.com, what actually happens is like the system will find the IP address and ping to that IP address. Okay, ping meaning checking the connectivity. Okay, if you know the IP address, you can directly say ping 192.168.1.1, the destination system's IP address. And if you're getting a replay, meaning your system is connected successfully. If you're not getting a replay, meaning your system is not connected successfully. So with replay, connection successful. Without a replay, connection failed. Okay, so ping is a command which helps you to check the connectivity from one system to another. Now, when you use ping, internally you are using a protocol meaning set of rules, a protocol known as Internet Control Message Protocol, or in other sense ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol. Okay, now this protocol helps you to check the connectivity and find the errors. Now, if you want to configure a wired or wireless network, we need multiple devices. One, the service from ISP. Second, you need a device or router or modem. Okay, and the third one is your computer. And to connect these devices, you need wired or wireless cable. Okay, now in this example, consider the home network configuration where you have a PC, you have a wireless router, you have a broadband modem which is connected to the internet. Please find this picture. Now, the first step is connect the cable to your device meaning your PC or your laptop. Now, connect the other end to the switch or the ADSL router in your home of network. Now, the third step is connect the cable between the wireless router and the broadband modem. The wireless router will receive the wireless signal from the ISP. The wireless router will send that communication to the broadband modem, and the broadband modem will send the communication back to your PC or laptop. Okay, now there are various settings by which you can set the wired or wireless modem at your home. The last topic of this chapter is network troubleshooting process. Troubleshooting meaning if something goes wrong, how to correct it. That steps is known as network troubleshooting process. Okay. Now there are basically 6 steps in troubleshooting a network. The first one is known as identify the problem. The second step is establish a theory of probable cause. what can be the reason for a problem. Okay, for example, when you type google.com, the Chrome browser is telling you no connectivity. Now, what can be the problem? There can be multiple problems here. The problems can be the connection from your ISP or the Omantel or Ooredoo to your router is lost, or from your router to your PC there is some connection issues. It can be anything. Okay, now test the connectivity. Okay, now once you find what's the problem, create a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. It can be a loose cable, then connect it strong. Okay, now once everything is fine, verify full system functionality, and if applicable, implement preventive measures. Now, for some reason, if your connectivity is lost because of some loose cable, then check why that loose cable happened and take remedial measures and make sure the loose cable won't happen in future. Now, once you find the problem and correct it, document it so that on a later stage, if someone else have the same problem, it will be easy for them to correct it. Okay, take the first step, identify the problem. Now, there can be multiple problems to a network. So first thing you need to do is identify what the problem is. Now, what are the questions which you need to ask while you identify the problem? What problems are you experiencing with your device? Whether it is connectivity issue, there is cable loose issue, light not blinking in your cable NIC card. Check all these connectivity issues. Now, second question, what software has been installed on your device recently? The third question is, what were you doing when the problem was identified? The fourth one is, what error message you have received? And the fifth one is, what type of network connection is the device using? The closed end questions are, has anyone else used your device recently? Can you see any shared files or printers? Have you changed your password recently? Can you access the internet? Are you currently logged into a network? Is anyone else having this problem? Or have there been any environmental or infrastructural changes to the network? Okay, ask these questions to find the problem. Okay, look into the error messages, look into the devices and softwares you're using, check whether this problem is experienced by someone else, and by checking all these things you can identify a problem. Okay, the common problems are the NIC LED lights are not lit, meaning behind your PC you have an Ethernet cable connected to your PC. Now, if the connectivity is successful, the NIC card will be blinking, or in other sense, the place where the cable is connected to your PC, two LED lights will be there and that lights will be blinking. Okay, check whether that lights are blinking or not. Now, second problem is user cannot use secure shell to access a remote device. This is if you want to connect to a computer in US or in China, and if you're using a protocol called SSH, and then if you can't connect it to that remote devices are devices which are located in a very different geographical region. Okay, now the third problem can be device cannot detect the wireless router. Maybe the wireless router is switched off and you forgot to switch it on, maybe. The fourth problem, Windows computer has an IPv4 address of 169.254.x.x. x.x meaning it can be any number between 0 and 255. Now, if the computer is having an IP address which starts with 169, it simply means that your computer don't have network and the operating system assigned an IP address to your computer. And when an operating system assigns an IP address to your computer, it will always starts with 169. Okay, now the next problem is remote device does not respond to the ping request. Ping is a mechanism by which you check the connectivity and errors. So when you ping a system and the ping is not replaying you, meaning there is a problem with intermediate devices like routers and switches, or a problem with the end device. Okay, now a user can access a local network but cannot access the internet, meaning if there is a mobile phone and laptop connected to your home network, you can ping from mobile phone to laptop, but you can't ping from your laptop to an internet system, which can be google.com or cisco.com, any website. Now the next problem, a network is fully functional but a wireless device cannot connect to the network. Local resources such as file sharing or printers are unavailable. So these are the common networking problems. Okay, now check these problems, and for each problem you can identify a solution and then you can solve it easily. Now there can be some advanced problems also, such as a device can connect to a network device by IP address but not by the host name. The meaning is, assume like you want to go to google.com. So instead of typing to google.com, you type the IP address of google.com. Okay, now the problem arises. If the google.com IP address is correct, then you will get the connectivity. Else it won't. Else when you type google.com, which is known as the host name, the spelling got wrong, then you won't get the connectivity. If that the case, then re-enter the correct host name. Okay, it will solve the problem. Or if you have a wrong DNS IP address, correct the DNS IP address. Okay, now the second problem, the device does not obtain or renew the IP address on the network. It simply means that if you're using dynamic IP addressing using DHCP, every 24 hours your IP address will be changed, or the DHCP will try to renew the IP address which is assigned to you. And for some reason, if DHCP can't renew it, there will be a problem. Okay, the third one, an IP address conflict message displays when connecting a new device to the network. It simply means that you got two different computers and two different computers have same IP address, meaning there is a computer called computer A and there is a different computer called computer B. Both the computers have the same IP address. Then it will create conflict message. Now the fourth one, a device has network access but does not have internet access. It can be because of multiple reasons. It can be a problem with the ISP. It can be of temporal geographical issues. It can be because of networking issues, switch issues, router issues. You need to check a lot of things to check this problem. Now, users are experiencing slow transfer speeds, weak signal strength, intermittent connectivity on the wireless network. This can be because of multiple huge downloads happening, or the signal is weak, meaning you need to change the position of your Wi-Fi device so that the signal will be more. Like this, you need to change this few settings to solve the problem.